out with some 3-pipe diagrams that are exactly what they are. There's 3 pipes in a diagram, right? Before we start, there will always be some information in the diagram. But by 3 pipes, it means pipe M, pipe N, and pipe O. 3 pipes. We have to figure out the center-to-center measurements and the end-to-end measurements for each one of those pipes. The good news is they will always be giving us some information. So the first little bit of information is the overall measurement from here to here is 3'3", or 39 inches. When it says start here, right, that means pipe M, center to center, is 9.5 inches. Okay, it's going to give us an offset. Once we know the offset, you can draw in your pretty triangle. Okay, and it's going to give us the type of pipe we're working with when we need to figure out our end-to-end. So remember, our end-to-end will always be shorter than our center-to-center, and we're getting every decimal we see to a 1/16 of an inch, right? So let's start with the first pipe, pipe M. We were given that as our start measurement, which means M, center-to-center, is 9.5 inches. We have 3/4 inch pipe, right? We have a 90 on one end and a 45 on the other. My drawings aren't great, but I know what they mean. So we're going to go to our data number 5 under 3/4 inch pipe. We have 1 3/8 inch for a 90, 1 inch for a 45, and then we have to take a 1/2 inch off each end for the threading. Right? So I go 1 3/8 plus 1 minus 1, we get 1 3/8. Some of you like to do it this way. If this is the way you like to do it, keep her going. You take 1 3/8 minus a 1/2, that's the end for the 90. Then 1 minus a 1/2, that's for the 45. We still get 1 3/8 as our total fitting allowance. Now it's easy. We're taking 9.5, our center to center, minus 1 3/8, and we get 8 1/8 of an inch end to end. Cut your pipe at 8 1/8, put on the 90 and the 45, it'll measure back center to center, 9.5. Now, pipe N. Pipe N is a little bit trickier. We were given an offset, the distance from here to here. So you can see I've drawn in the triangle. We take our offset and we times it by 1.414, right? And we get a number like 13.43. Again, we got to get that decimal to a 16. So we need to get it to our tape measure. So we end up with 0.43 times 16, 6.88. We now know we round that up to 7/16. 13 7/16, center to center. Not done yet. Now we have to do end to end, and we have a 45 on each end. So 1 plus 1 minus 1. I made a mistake there, but it's 1 plus 1 minus 1. We get a total fitting allowance of 1, or you can do it this way. 1 minus a 1/2 for one end of the pipe, plus 1 minus a 1/2 for the other end of the pipe. You still end up with a total fitting allowance of 1. So 13 7/16 minus 1, 12 7/16 end to end. One more pipe left, and this one's a little tricky. We now need to figure out pipe O, center to center and end to end. Gonna go back to our pretty little diagram here, and we know our overall measurement, 3'3" would be 39 inches all the way across there. We know here to here is 9.5 inches, and we know here to here is 9.5 inches because here to here is 9.5 inches. So 9.5 plus 9.5, we take that away from 39, and lo and behold, we get 20 inches, center to center. Now, this is like taking candy from a baby at this point. We find the end to end. 1 3/8 for the 90, plus 1 for the 45, minus 1 for the thread in, a total fitting allowance of 1 3/8. Or, we're going to do each end by itself. 1 3/8 minus a 1/2, plus 1 3/8 minus a 1/2. We're still getting 1 3/8 as our total fitting allowance. 20 minus 1 3/8 equals 18 5/8 inches end to end. Now, when you get your final answers here, instead of having a lunatic asylum with numbers all over the page, we're going to set them up nice and pretty here when you answer them. So M center to center is 9.5. M end to end is 8 1/8. N center to center is 13 7/16. And end to end is 12 7/16. O center to center is 20, and O end to end is 8 5/8. So, the sheet that you need to hand in for this class, very similar diagram to this, even very similar numbers, just saying. And it's all already even set up for you nice and pretty to fill in your answers. Now, it's a little bit of work and it's a little bit of time to do these, but take your time, make sure you get your fractions right. Here's the key, when you get into a multiple choice test and you make a mistake with one of these pipes, you're probably gonna make a mistake with another one. So it is a bit tedious, but I want you to slow down, take your time, and get them done right.